Welcome back to my channel, everyone. In this episode, we'll be starting a Barra bush mechanic style. So for those of you who have been following along, you'll know that I need to start my Barra before the 90-day warranty period expires, and I haven't had a chance to plumb and spec everything yet, so this is definitely a questionable way to start a Barra. Here's the plan for this episode. I'm going to introduce you to the guys from barratheworld.com, then we're going to look at the loom and the wiring setup I'm using, then the fuel system, we'll troubleshoot the oil system, and then get the mighty Barra started. So we have Chris and Mez here from barratheworld.com. Have a look at this t-shirt and the logo, barratheworld.com, everyone. And these guys are helping me do the engine conversion on my 4580. Chris, do you want to talk about some of the services that you guys offer?
Yeah, so we offer a one-on-one sort of build support, so you can come to us either via phone, email, however you like, and tell us what you're doing and how you want to go about it. Like, you know, you want to put a Barra in a Mustang, for instance, or a Barra in a Cruiser, and how much power you want to make, what you want to do with it, and we'll sort of help guide you in a sense of what parts you should put in the build, or whether you should do custom mounts or what have you. We also offer a lot of the parts. We're sort of aiming to be a one-stop shop, so from service parts, so gaskets, water pumps, belts, things like that, all the way down to performance, cams, cam gears, turbos, manifolds, you name it, sort of, we've got it. So yeah,
these guys are really, really helpful. Honestly, I wouldn't have my Barra running. I wouldn't even be close to having it running without these guys. So yeah, if you're keen on doing an engine conversion, hit these guys up, because that's what I did, and and they were able to help me out a heap. So yeah, really appreciate it, guys. All right, Mez, do you want to talk about this loom from barratheworld.com?
Yeah, so this is a product that we offer on our website from Bill Hooton. Everyone knows him, he's the man for the Barra looms. So we pretty much give him a little snippet of the stock motor and body loom, and he will do his magic here. So we've actually opted for the extra fuse box that will pretty much run our fuel pumps, our thermo fans, and then he's also given us the outputs for shifters, OBDs, pedals, all the other accessories, your CAN bus outputs, ignitions, power steering switches, wastegate solenoids, and even the flashed ECU, so this can all run in the car.
Wiring's not my favourite thing in the world, so I'm more than happy to pay for a product like this. I'm not too bad with the circuits, it's the ones and zeros that get me. I mean, this is a really good quality product. Have a look at all the wiring. It's super, super neat. I'm just using a completely stock FG engine loom. I'm not actually sure how much they vary between the series, but it is just a completely stock engine loom. So we're going to make it work now. So Bill's loom comes nicely labelled, so this would normally be on the body loom. This is the wastegate solenoid, so it's part of Bill's new loom, so makes it pretty easy.
Just went over the little checklist of if we've wired everything in, and pretty much connecting the ECU and about to power it up.
It's exciting stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of a bit nervous, to be honest.
As am I.
Yeah.
This is definitely not in my field of expertise, so I'm really glad I have these fellas helping me out. Okay, we've got the loom mounted up now, so we've just sort of pinned the fuse box just with a bolt to the engine bay. I think this actually will end up being the final mounting position if there's no clashes with anything else. Bill's given me extra wires so I can mount the fuse box in a few different locations. On the inside, have a look, so literally just plugged Bill's loom straight into the computer, and then this is the engine loom off a stock FG Falcon, which also goes into the computer, and we've just wired it to the manual switches for the fuel system, and then we've also wired it to the FG accelerator pedal using an FG plug. This is a quality product made in Australia for Australia, and that's a little added bonus of doing a Barra conversion. It's all Australian specific gear. So that's the wiring done now. Let's have a look at the fuel system we're running for the initial startup. Here's my Bosch 044, and we've got fittings on either end for the 8mm hose, and this is a check valve here. So I've got Chris over there in the background. He's wiring up a little switch, which is going to go straight to the battery, I believe. So for those of you who have been following along, you'll remember back to my original video, I do plan on welding up 2 aluminium tanks. I haven't had a chance to do that yet, and to be honest, it hasn't been on my mind. There's been a bit of other stuff going on. So I've got this high-tech jerry can with a return and a feed line, and a sophisticated floor mount, the Bosch 044, in its box, which then runs up to the fuel rail, just a standard fuel rail for the Barra. I've also got it wired up to a battery, which I haven't had a chance to mount yet, so we're just floor mounting it at the moment. So whoever was dismantling my Falcon managed to put a slit in the power steering reservoir, so we just got a blowtorch and we're going to try and melt that back up and then loop it off while we start it, because we don't want to burn the power steering pump. I've never done this before, never used a blowtorch, but let's give it a crack, eh? Oh.
It gets hot, man.
Oh. Oh.
I think that should be fine, like, I don't know.
You know we're in good areas when we're running zip tie daisy chains to hold the radiator hose back from the fan belts. Just draining the oil now, about to put some fresh stuff in with a new filter, and then we can get to cranking this thing. You're an absolute prick. Using this Newlon full synthetic 5W40 on the recommendation from some bloke at Autobarn that seemed to know what he was talking about. It's going to take 6.8 litres for the first fill, because I've done a filter as well. So this thing hasn't been started for a while, so just to be on the safe side, we're spraying some lubricant down the bores, just because I don't want to score them when we crank it over. The idea is to prime the oil system first, so we've taken all the injectors out and we're going to crank and yeah, make sure it's all primed. Hopefully we'll be able to see oil coming out of this turbo oil feed lug, and then that's how we'll know that it's getting oil pressure. We don't have any gauges or anything like that hooked up. So we were having heaps of drama getting oil pressure at this end of the turbo feed line. What we did was we just put a little bit of oil in the turbo, and then we actually cranked just to see if any oil pressure would come through this line when it was idling.
Well, I got nothing.
And it didn't. So we pulled it all apart again, got the lug out, and this was the problem. So this is the oil filter from the turbo feed line on the other end, and it's completely blocked. So here's a hot tip for anyone starting Barras. Make sure that there's oil getting through this oil filter, and definitely take off your oil feed line to make sure that the turbo is getting oil. Okay, so I've got this countdown going on my computer for when warranty ends, just to stress me out a little bit and to keep me motivated and working on it. The boys from barratheworld.com are back today, so hopefully we can get this started with a new turbo oil feed line with a fixed filter. So 27 days left, let's do it. So we've got a speed flow aftermarket oil line kit for the Barra, and we've got this through Barra the World. So this has got an inline filter here. This is where the turbo oil filter lives, in the middle of this banjo bolt. This is for the oil feed line to the turbo. So now that I've got the inline filter in the new oil feed line, I'm not going to be running a filter in the banjo bolt. It's not required.
So yeah, last time when we wired this up to get it cranking, we did a really messy job of it, and we just wanted to make sure we're all good. So we have a momentary switch now for starting. Ignition to cut things off now. Yeah, so it's going to be a bit nicer and easier to run through this way.
Alright, we're doing the same thing as last time, leaving the turbo oil feed line off. By the way, when we were cranking last time, we checked to see if the rest of the oil system was working. The filter had oil in it and there was oil pressure at the engine side of the turbo oil feed line. Yeah, beautiful. That's exactly what we wanted to see. A little bit of oil came out, so we know that the turbo is getting oil. Just going to plug the injectors in now and fire this thing up. So it fired up well for the first time. We're just going to fire it up again and check that the throttle pedal's working.
Yeah, you good?
Yeah.
Just checking that the alternator works. So I've got measured the voltmeter. Crank it again.
Yep.
So we're all good. Alternator's working. The first startup of the Barra was a great success. It runs really well, which I'm stoked about. Let's quickly refer back to the plan now. The next few episodes, I'll be plumbing the engine and finishing off the conversion properly. Next episode, I'll be learning how to weld stainless steel and making some intercooler piping in the process. That brings us to the end of this episode, guys. So if you want to see more of this build, don't forget to hit like and subscribe below and leave a comment. I love responding to them. I love the feedback. Cheers.